Tony is completing his final training and surgery appointments in the lead up to the race start next Thursday. In his bid to raise money for the oncology unit at Sydney's Camperdown Children's Hospital, Tony has sent out 4,000 letters to dentists across the country asking for financial support. Last year, Tony raised $30,000 for the unit before he was forced to withdraw from the race through injury less than 100 kilometres before the finish. However, Tony is confident that the injuries won't bother him too much this year.
I want to get over that finishing line. I've got some unfinished business from last year. I don't think I'm quite in contention for winning, but providing the injuries hold off, I could be in there with a reasonably good place.
The nimble-footed dentist also cuts the front from his shoes.
I've been told that it's to let the smell out of the shoes, actually. I don't like any pressure on my toes, so I cut the toe box out. I do that routinely. It's you take an expensive pair of shoes, you take a pair of scissors and modify them. They're very nice to run in then.
Tony says he can't wait till he's into the first 3 days of the race because his toenails will turn black and fall off, helping his feet become more pliable and ease the blisters as he shuffles along at 5 to 6 kilometres an hour in all sorts of weather.
So we're running in late May and we'll be going down through Cooma and Nimbidabel. Nimbidabel's, I think, close to 4,000 feet altitude. We could be going through snow, I could see. It would be most interesting.
True. Drop all your troubles by the riverside. Catch a painted pony, let the spinning wheel fly.
Songs such as Spinning Wheel have made life very comfortable for members of Blood, Sweat and Tears. Lead singer and songwriter David Clayton Thomas says he performs not for the money, but for personal satisfaction.
Never wanted to be a star, always wanted to be a musician, and that's the intent of the band.
Blood, Sweat and Tears have played with such greats as Chuck Berry and Jimi Hendrix. After 5 gold records and countless performances the world over, the band must rate as one of the few survivors in a very fickle industry. Has there been much blood, sweat and tears?
Oh yeah. I mean, I guess every career has ups, downs, ins and outs. I mean, every human being has that. I don't care if you're a doctor, a lawyer, an Indian chief, you're going to have that.
"16 years after the last Agent Orange was sprayed on Vietnam jungles, a federal judge has struck a blow for veterans who insist they are victims of the potent herbicide. He has ordered the federal government to reconsider the claims of 31,000 veterans who have been denied health benefits.
This doesn't come as a surprise to any Vietnam veteran. We all know the government has been unfair.
There's so many veterans who are ill, so many veterans who have died from illnesses that we think are associated with Agent Orange and their families, and they have never gotten any compensation. So this means a lot to us.
Veterans have claimed their exposure to Agent Orange was the cause of cancer, liver disease, and birth defects. Former Marine Arno Wagonmakers, who died of liver and lung disorders at age 37, never doubted the cause.
My husband was never a bitter person. He always felt that he served his country and he was proud to do so. And he always stated that he died in Vietnam and didn't know it.
But in awarding Agent Orange-related benefits, the Veterans Administration has generally recognized only one illness, a non-fatal skin condition called chloracne. Judge Thelton Henderson ruled the government standards were too demanding and failed to give veterans the benefit of the doubt. The judge added, "We find that these errors sharply tip the scales against veterans." The Veterans Administration declined comment on the ruling while deciding whether to appeal it. Plaintiffs, including Julio Gonzalez, braced for an extended battle.
If we have to force the VA, fine, we'll force the VA. I figured no one's going to take care of our needs but us.
For the 31,000 who've applied for benefits and been rejected, the ruling means a new chance. It's a chance that could now extend to thousands more who feel they're victims of Agent Orange, but have never requested benefits.
Richard Face's elevation to the opposition frontbench today is undoubtedly his most significant achievement since he began serving the Charlestown electorate in 1972. Part of a three-man link in the new Law and Order portfolio, Mr Face was quick to point out his former career in the police force ensured he had the right sort of background to take up such a challenge.
They're areas that I'm very conversant with. I've worked for them in the police department, and I've also got a great deal of connections back to my trade background.
Born and educated in Newcastle, Mr Face has a solid background in the ALP, having joined 22 years ago and been involved in many parliamentary committees and reports since winning the seat of Charlestown. Also a keen supporter of local surf, sporting and youth clubs, Mr Face said he saw his promotion as a good opportunity to promote the needs of his electorate.
I'll be certainly taking as higher profile as I can.
I didn't know anything about it. I, like most people, believed the nights were going along very satisfactorily, and it was no doubt a shock to me.
The Knights yesterday announced the appointment of former NJC Secretary Brian Judd as the Chief General Manager. Graham Hards was offered a 2-year contract as his assistant. Today, Mr Hards differed with statements made by Knights Deputy Chairman Michael Hill, who claims it wasn't a demotion.
Oh, there's no doubt I've been demoted. The New South Wales Rugby League believes that the top job in any club is the chief executive, and that's naturally so. So I'm no longer the chief executive.
The Knights organisation has grown from humble beginnings to a multi-million-dollar concern, and the board of directors argues that the skills of Brian Judd are needed to manage that operation. Mr Hards, who is yet to make a decision on his future, says he only wants the best for the club he has helped develop.
I believe I've done the job to the best of my ability, and I've got no doubts about that at all. I can hold my head high in this city as far as the Knights are concerned.
Ever since they were all but thrown out of Newcastle by an irate Lord Mayor 3 months ago, Amicon executives have been working hard to improve their image here. Swallowing any pride hurt in that initial encounter, they've steered a careful course, first addressing the council and then holding meetings with business and civic leaders, and always informing the Lord Mayor. Today they spoke with Trades Hall Council Secretary Peter Barrick about the possibility of implementing a 3-union agreement in Newcastle along the lines of that operating at their Williamstown dockyard. If Amicon wins the Anzac contract, it wants to use the same conditions for the shipbuilding work it will do here. The consortium says it is largely because of that agreement, which reduces unions on site to the metalworkers, ETU and FIA, that it was able last week to launch the HMAS Melbourne ahead of schedule.
Ship began to move.
Ladies and gentlemen, 3 cheers for Melbourne. Hip hip!
And predictably, the Melbourne has now become a major weapon in Amicon's battle against AWS.
Amicon has proven without any doubt that it is a successful frigate building organisation and company, and that puts us a great deal ahead of any possible competitor in this country.
Despite their high public profile in Newcastle in the last few months, Managing Director of Amicon, Dr John White, denies they're fighting a publicity war in the region.
It's important that the people in the place where we plan to do 1/3 of the project know what we plan to do.
Hall and the Lord Mayor have come out strongly in support of AWS as the winner. So you're coming into the lion's den, as it were. Is that a tactical move?
Well, I haven't lost any limbs in the lion's den yet. They are
Harding stepped up to the light heavyweight division, and in the opening exchanges, the hitman must have wondered whether that was a smart move. Giovannini came out swinging and on quite a few occasions connecting, but Harding started his relentless assault and began to give as good as he got. The near-capacity crowd gasped as the punches were landing with great power from both boxers, and by the end of round 2 it was obvious that Harding would be the aggressor and the South American would do well to avoid the assault. In round 3, Giovannini landed a crashing right to Harding, which opened up a small wound under his left eye. But that seemed to sting the hitman into action, and by the end of the round, Giovannini was the one in trouble. Both fighters took plenty of punishment, with Harding getting on top with a left jab, and by round 8 he was well ahead on points. Giovannini knew at this stage that a knockout was the only thing that would save him, and he went for broke with wild over-the-top right hands. But Harding kept up the pressure, and it was no surprise after the final bell that Harding had won a unanimous points decision over a very gallant Nestor Giovannini. The fight of the night was the prelim to the main bout, the battle for the New South Wales featherweight crown between title holder Craig Peavy of Cardiff and Dora Creek's Al Whitten. And what a fight it was! Peavy looked confident in the opening round, but Whitten landed a couple of great shots, and the title holder knew he would have to be at his best to win. It was nearly all over in the middle stages of the fight when Whitten, retaliating from some strong punching by Peavy, had the champion all sorts of strife, and Peavy did well to stay on his feet. Savage exchanges continued right to the end, and the large crowd rose to their feet at the final bell. The judges, by a 2-to-1 vote, crowned Al Whitten as the new state featherweight champion.
He's won a split decision.
While florists were doing a roaring trade in preparation for Mother's Day tomorrow, 150 mums got a surprise a day early. They received calls as a result of the special Mother's Day phone-in. The exercise, organised by Telecom and the City Promotions Group, gave a free 5-minute call anywhere in Australia to the first 150 people to arrive at Market Square after 9 o'clock this morning. Telecom provided 4 phones for the event, which also gave callers the chance of winning a return flight home for 2. But for those who can't get home to Mum tomorrow, the telephone calls today certainly put smiles on some faraway faces.
The 8.4-kilometre runner tracked at a top-class field of the Hunter's best athletes, and conditions were near perfect. Along with the runners expected to dominate the event was an excellent gathering of fun runners, people who enjoy the company and scenery as much as the competition. It didn't take long for the field to begin to stretch out, and Brian Morgan, David Lightfoot and Jason Maxwell were setting a fierce pace, and it was Lightfoot who completed the first 4.2 Ks in the brilliant time of 12 minutes 21 seconds. He had opened up a commanding lead over Morgan and Maxwell, who struggled to pick up the tall striding Lightfoot. And that's the way it was at the tape, with Lightfoot crossing 19 seconds ahead of second place getter Maxwell, with Morgan a further 4 seconds behind. Megan Swarzers and Tracy Kelty had a great battle, and in the concluding stages Swarzers got the upper hand to win in a time of 33 minutes 11 seconds, with Tracy Kelty from the Wattigan Warriors Club a further 33 seconds back. Ricky Walford put Country in front after 10 minutes with a penalty goal, and then it was Knights fullback Gary Worth who turned on the razzle-dazzle to set up the first try and stretch Country's lead to 8-0.
Worth's gone straight through. Gary Worth, he's got a ton of pace. He's got Ferguson with him. Ferguson gets it away to Daly. Daly's sprinting away. Teddy Lamb giving chase, but no, Willie Daly's in. Try to Country.
Country's captain Chris Mortimer made an error from a scrum win, and City made them pay dearly through the services of Hasler and Lamb.
He's got it to Teddy Lamb. Teddy Lamb racing away. Hendrick giving chase, but Lamb's in. It's a try.
At half-time it was anyone's game with a scoreline at 8-all, and Laurie Daly came out and let Andrew Eddingshausen know if City were to win, they would have to fight for it. Terry Lamb put the City Slickers in front for the first time with a penalty, and Country winger Ricky Walford stopped City from going further ahead with a great tackle on Lyons.
Intercepted, and now squeaking away is Bradley Clyde. Beard's giving chase. He's got it away to Lamb. Lamb gets it away to Alexander. Alexander, he's got away from Daly. He's trying to leak up with Graham Lyons. Lyons has got a lot of speed. Walford giving chase. Walford chasing Lyons. Walford comes at Lyons. And what a great tackle. Super tackle from Ricky Walford.
But not long after, Greg Alexander, on as a fresh reserve, put the issue beyond doubt with a clever try, and City were home 16 points to 8.
Alexander will score. That's the end of the ball game. Greg Alexander scores the try.
The floating dock today completed a major refit of the Navy's largest vessel, the 18,000-tonne HMAS Success. Although the vessel was due to go into the dry dock on April the 3rd, the big job was delayed 4 days at the Navy's request to allow emergency repairs to be carried out on a propeller of HMAS Darwin. Once in dry dock, the Navy extended the work program on the Success, but the completion schedule was met despite the bad weather. 80 workers on 2 shifts carried out a variety of jobs, from replacing underwater valves, both shafts of the propeller system, overhaul on electric motors and hydraulics, to replacing bathrooms and major repairs to the vessel's firefighting system. The Success, which is the supply ship for the Royal Australian Navy, will undergo sea trials tomorrow before returning to her home port of Sydney to load provisions. The 4Jack's first job for the Navy was rebuilding the boiler casings on HMAS Brisbane about 18 months ago. This impressed naval officials and more contracts were promised. The company is seeking state government approval to modify the floating dock at the Navy's cost to accommodate the American-built frigates for refitting. The first of such contracts could come in September-October. The dock's manager, Jim Weatherby, said since his company leased the facility from the state government, 30 vessels were either docked or slipped last year, completion late on only 1 vessel. Mr Weatherby said the dock's impressive record is re-establishing Newcastle as a major ship repairer.
Experts from 16 countries as far as China, Peru and Jordan will cram the equivalent of 5 months' work on a master's degree into just 6 weeks. All the countries represented at the United Nations-sponsored 4th annual coal technology course are either using coal now or are planning to. There were many other countries which wanted to be represented at the seminar, but the Coal Research Institute can cater to only an exclusive few. Joint Coal Board Director of International Trade, Brian Dillon, says it's to be expected that when the world wants advice on coal, it looks to Australia and Newcastle in particular.
After the Second World War, while so many other countries turned away to use oil as their prime fuel source, Australia remained with coal, and Newcastle in particular, which is the centre of power generation in Australia, has always been the world leader in coal utilisation technology.
The students will work through 2,000 pages of lecture notes during their stay, but they'll also be taken on tours of the region's major coal producers and coal users.
It took a lengthy court battle to finally secure the services of Kiwi junior international Tony Kemp, and when he resumed playing for the Knights, he added a new dimension to their backline. His short-term future with the Knights will be determined by the judiciary tonight after he was sent off by Mick Stone. Cronulla's fullback Jonathan Docking fielded a kick by the Knights and was running the ball back when he was collared by Kemp. Referee Stone had no hesitation in calling Kemp out and sending him from the field in the 4th minute. He has been charged with a dangerous high tackle. Docking wasn't hurt and went on to score a try in Cronulla's 26-0 whitewash of the Knights. The Cronulla club will tender a letter to the judiciary tonight, pointing to the fact that their player wasn't hurt in the tackle. Round 10 of the Winfield Cup is a split round, and the matches set down for this weekend are Illawarra to play North Sydney on Saturday, and on Sunday Eastern Suburbs do battle with Western Suburbs, and St George tangle with the Gold Coast, which is their deferred match. The following weekend the matches are Parramatta play Cronulla, Penrith meet Canterbury, Brisbane play the Gold Coast, South Sydney clash with Manly, St George to meet Balmain, and Newcastle play Canberra. The Saturday game will be decided next Monday. At Old Trafford, Widnes completed a double on the last day of the English Rugby League season. The championship winners defeated Hull 18-10 in the Premiership final before 40,000 fans. Known as the Chemics, the Widnes concoction of their forward power and pace in the shape of Eastern Suburbs bound Martin O'Fire proved too much for the Humberside team.
Look at the pace!
More than 500 attended the gala event at one of Australia's premier thoroughbred breeding establishments, the Sedgen Ho Stud at Scone. President of the newly formed Hunter Valley Equine Research Foundation, Brian Agnew, told the guests the foundation will provide the best racehorse training facilities in Australia. Only $160,000 was spent on research into thoroughbred and other horses last year. The Hunter Valley Equine Research Foundation will fund itself with help from the racing industry. After a sumptuous supper and champagne, Sydney radio personality Ray Hadley whipped the auction into a bidding frenzy. 71 items went under the hammer. The Bellbird Stud bought a nomination from imported sire Last Tycoon at the bargain price of $44,000. A Range Rover changed owners at $59,000. A Toyota Land Cruiser realised $35,000. And Broadmeadow Racing identity Max Lees saw 180 days of his training fees sell for the grand sum of $5,000. More than $450,000 was raised in the auction. With a profit of $250,000, the NBN Telethon will benefit with a gift of $65,000. Colin Heward summed up the glitter of the night with a magnificent song, pointing to the success of the Racehorse Foundation and reconfirming the future of those benefiting from the NBN Telethon.
It's gonna be a bright, sunshine day. It's gonna be a bright.
This has been one of the last fundraising activities for the NBN Telethon this year. The total amount raised, thought to be a world record, will be announced on NBN Sunday night, May 28. Willie Lafitte for NBN News.
Only 13 turned up for the protest as the 4,000-tonne cargo ship Krasnogorsk was edged into Newcastle Harbour. The protesters say the ship, which received a similar reception in its last port of call Brisbane, is carrying endangered rainforest timber from Indonesia. They say timber of this type is being milled at the rate of the area of a football field every second, and if this continues, the world will soon have no rainforests. Although small in number, spokesperson Rodney Knight said the protesters were determined to get their message across.
Oh, it's not a publicity stunt, it's very serious. The destruction of tropical rainforests is something that Australia is playing a very big part in by importing timber, and we're trying to get this stopped.
A spokesperson for the shipping agent, Hetherington Westfarmers Shipping Agency, verified the ship was loaded with timber, but could not comment on its exact origin.